the cost of living getting worse and worse, we are looking at how can we eat healthy amidst the crisis, the financial crisis. So today I will look at the benefits of eating healthy and also discuss what is a healthy diet. If we are saying we are doing a healthy diet, what is a healthy diet? Then we are also going to look at planning a weekly meal and also planning shopping, because that is very key when you look at how do you eat healthy. Planning in advance is going to be very key in your success. And then where and how do we save money? Um, so it's very important that you also identify how to save money and how to make sure that the essentials are bought, and leave money for the treats, um, but the essentials will be bought. So, what are the benefits of eating healthy? The benefits of eating healthy is that everybody gets the energy from food, and if you get your energy from food, all what we need to do is to make sure that we get the right uh, food items or the right diet to make sure that we get the right energy requirements that we need per day. So you would see that if we eat too much of the energy intake, like for example carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, we tend to gain weight, and our BMI might be outside the normal range. But if we eat within the ranges of our body needs, we tend to have a balanced diet, and whatever is coming in is being used by the body for metabolic processes and for energy, and there is always the balance, and you maintain weight. And on the other side as well, if we eat less than what we need, we also tend to have um, under body weight, which the doctors and the nurses usually would classify as under normal BMI. So the under normal and the over normal both are not good for our health. But at times we tend to see that there are a lot of factors that come in for our normal BMI to be maintained, as well as for the lower BMI and the higher BMI to make sure that we are actually within the normal BMI that we are supposed to have. So we will tend to look at it and say if we eat healthy, we stay strong and we get the nutrients that we require for the men and the women, for the children. And we also need to look at what do we drink, all right? The, the juices that we put in and all the stuff also helps in. Some of them add more calories. Like, for example, if you drink a lot of coffee and you put a lot of sugar in it, the sugar will add on to the energy calories that are being taken into the body. And then you see that these nutrients that we eat, they have got a physiological impact, and there's a psychological impact. The physiological impact is building our muscles, building our body, and the psychological effect is affecting our moods, stress, anxiety. So you tend to see that besides just eating, there are other things that we need to take care of, which are linked to our food intake. So you will see that. So what is a healthy diet, right? Some of you would actually say, if I am planning a meal and I'm planning a healthy diet, what does that mean? Okay. In a normal day, a person should have at least regular meals, 6 to 7 meals. And if we are saying 6 to 7 meals, we are saying breakfast, morning snack, lunch, mid afternoon snack, supper, dinner, or tea. It depends on where you are. Some people tend to, and then evening snack, and then the snack that you eat before you go to bed. Okay? If you eat these types of meal, your metabolic processes are always kicked on and working and burning according to what you need because it knows that I'm going to get the meals that I require. There is an article which has been published in terms of people who do not eat these regular meals to say that you end up gaining weight because the moment you eat and then at times you don't eat certain foods, the body would actually look at you and say, oh, yeah, let me keep everything that I have now just in case for the next 3 4 hours I'm not going to have anything to eat. So let me um, store. So you tend to store what you do not need. But when you have got a high metabolic rate because you're eating um, regularly, because you are eating your normal meals, you tend to see that you tend to maintain your weight within your body. So you are recommended to eat these meals. And what do I mean by a morning snack? Morning snack, I'm not saying that it's um, something heavy. It can be a biscuit and a cup of tea. It could be an apple. It could be a slice of cheese. And so the snacks are something that prepare your body for the next meal. So you have woken up and had your breakfast. And then the morning snack is preparing your body for your lunch. Then the afternoon snack is preparing your body for your tea. And then the evening snack, you're actually going to go to bed. Right? And then in these ones here, what you also need to take note is that the body functions in such a way that it actually metabolizes carbohydrates during the day and metabolizes proteins during the night. So it is very essential that the last thing that you eat in the night is something that is protein. Because during this time that you are sleeping, your metabolic processes are only there to maintain the chemical reactions that are happening inside your body. And if they are there to maintain the chemical reactions that are happening inside your body, what it means is all the other um, demands are closed during that time. And what is happening during that time is tissue repair. And that's the reason why you see that even if when a person goes in an accident, they tend to sedate the person so that the body closes all the other energy demands. And the metabolism of protein is just going on towards repairing of those damaged tissues. So when you're sleeping, a lot of proteins are being metabolized and a lot of tissue repair is happening as well as growth. That's why you see that for the teenagers, those who've got teenagers in the house, when they wake up in the morning, the teenagers are actually saying, oh, my body's aching, oh, my body's this, is because during that time, which is in the evening, the body has been building up new organs, stretching up new organs. So when you wake up, we are trying to adjust to this new movement that has happened overnight. So always make sure that when you go to bed and you want a snack, have it as a protein-based one, as opposed to a carbohydrate one. So in this balanced meal, I want you to look at the food groups that you'll be looking at. When you're looking at planning your meal, look at what is the carbohydrate source: potatoes, bread, rice, pasta, okay? And that should take about 38% of your plate, right? And then you've got fruits or vegetables, right? That should take about 40% of your plate. And then you've got the dairy and or dairy alternatives. That should take about 8% of it. And then you've got the beans, pulses, fish, eggs, which constitute the proteins. That should take about 8%. So you tend to see that when you are making the plate, right? I always say to people, I don't want my plate to be presented in such a way that food is on top of each other. I want it to be protein on its own, carbohydrates on their own, fruits and vegetables, and the vegetables are on their own. That is, if I taste any of them and I don't like it, I've got actually chance to leave it aside and just enjoy what I want to enjoy. But it also helps you to say, when you're looking at the plate, is the coverage of the plate within these percentages? Once you do this on regular basis, right, knowing that most of it should be uh, carbohydrates, and fruits and vegetables, and then the proteins, and then also look at some treats, desserts, and all the stuff, which are also small portions, which are, come in and then constitute about 1% of your constituent. So what I'm saying is, there are some people who say, I want to lose weight, and I am going to refrain from carbohydrates, or I'm going to refrain for this. Refraining from food groups a lot of times brings about cravings, and cravings are very hard to manage. So a lot of times I would suggest you have a eat well guide that you follow the quantities as they are required, and then you you do not refrain from foods that you feel like, oh, these ones are bad for me. You eat them in less quantities. Once you do that, your body tends to trust you that if I want a sweet, I can have it. If I want a chocolate, I can have it. But when I want the chocolate, it's not like I can have the chocolate on daily basis. All right, here and there, there's a chocolate that comes in, there's a sweet that comes in, there's this that comes in, that you treat yourself, and that you build trust between yourself and the body, and hence this balanced meal tends to kind of like help you also in terms of um taking nutrients. So how do you plan your meal, right? On a daily basis, look at it and say, what are my carbohydrates? What are my meals? What are my proteins? What are my dairy products that I'm having? Fruits and vegetables that I'm having, and then the fruits and vegetables, need to look at and say, how much am I having? Because there's this 5 a day. We could be a juice, an apple, a banana. So you need to look at it and say, how am I meeting this 5 a day requirement in terms of fruits and vegetables? And then how am I meeting my portions of carbohydrates, proteins, and even dairy in my plate? And how am I meeting my fluid intake? Do not forget to take your fluids, because the fluids, it helps with the metabolism, right? You tend to see that you are recommended to eat your meal with water, as opposed to eating your meal with a hot cup of tea or a hot cup of coffee. Because if you are eating anything that contains vitamins, that heat can actually denature the vitamin C that is in your meal. So you are a lot of times encouraged to say, when you are eating these meals, eat with cold juices or beverages. So you tend to say it's something that you plan, and once you plan the day one, you plan the day two, you plan the day three, and then you can actually say, if I cook rice on a Monday, right, and there's leftover rice, because, or I'm going to cook in for 2 days, for Monday and Tuesday. So Monday I'm going to do rice, lentils, fruits, vegetables, and my drink, and then on Tuesday I'm also going to do rice, chicken, this that. So you tend to see that by doing that, you tend to get um, to use all the leftovers that are there, and these leftovers that are there tend to help you to 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 reduce losses in terms of food losses. So you need to plan in such a way that if you are cooking for five, how long am I cooking for five for? Is it for 5 days, or is it for 2 days, or is it for um one day? One day we are five. The other 2 days, the other two members of the family are not at home. They are the other ones. So you tend to kind of like plan it in such a way that you do not have a lot of leftovers that are actually goes into the fridge. And when you have got any leftovers, plan to actually say, what am I going to do with these leftovers, right? At times you cook. People come from work, and then they feel like, I just ate a snack when I was coming here, so I'm actually full. So which means they're not going to eat the food that you've. So what are you going to do with that, right? Plan to say the leftovers. What am I going to do? And if it is the rice, if it is the kidney beans, if it's the fresh salad, whatever, what are you going to do with those leftovers? The other thing that you can also do with a fresh salad, you've got these trimmings that come on. Let's say you've peeled your cucumbers, you've peeled your oranges, and you've peeled apples. You can put all these into a blender and make a smoothie, right? So you are not going to throw away this, but you pick all these trimmings, you make a smoothie, and that's a drink that you are having. So you are minimizing loss of nutrients at any particular point. And some of these smoothies, you can chill them and eat them the following day, or at times you can actually like drink them as a dessert when you after you've done your meal. So they come up with all these ways of actually saying these trimmings or these food preparation methods that I'm using. What are the losses or the food losses or the food waste that I'm going to generate, and what am I going to do with that food loss and food waste, right? And if you do that, you tend to see that your budget goes far, and you tend to not have so many losses from your budget. And you can also look at it and say, if you go for lunch, you've cooked the previous day, you put some of it as your lunch for the following day. You can actually put portions for work. You can actually say they're saying this rice is for Monday, this rice is for Tuesday, this rice for, and then you freeze it, right? You take your portion, you take your tinned beans or your tinned protein that you have, you do your salad or your vegetable that you want to, your side, and that's your lunch, right? A lot of times people don't eat lunch because they feel like there's a lot of time to prepare, but you do not have a lot of time to prepare if you plan this in advance. If you plan during shopping, if you plan during cooking, you tend to see that you will never miss any of these meals because your shopping is taken into consideration what you are eating at home and what you are eating when you are away from home. And hence, it saves you a lot of money. And then you also need to plan the snacks, right? What am I eating morning snack? What am I eating in the afternoon snack? And what am I eating in the afternoon in the evening snack? Like what I said, the morning one carbohydrates, the ones that are in the evening protein based. All right. So you're looking at it and say, what are the protein based snacks that I can have before I go to bed? This could be a slice of cheese, a slice of a polony, or a piece of meat, or you can even be a glass of milk, right? They are all things that you are looking at and saying, before I just go to go, I'm just going to have a snack. And when you are having a glass of milk that you are having for the before you go to bed, you do not use the bigger 300 mils glass of milk. You tend to use the 150 to 200 mils of glasses, which are moderate sizes. And by doing that, you see that your body trusts you to say, you know what, I am going to be fed at all times, and therefore, let me do my part of metabolizing these um, nutrients that have been taken in and um, meet the energy demands that are required. And hence, once this is happening, you tend to see that you are healthier, your mental health is taken care of, your moods and anxiety is taken care of, your physical development is taken care of. But over and above this balanced diet, you also need to do some exercise as a way of making sure that you are fit and when you're doing the exercise. So somebody told me that lack of planning is planning to fail, right? If you do not plan, like what I was saying, you're actually planning to fail. So poor diet and bad nutrition, if anyone is going through that, what I'm saying is it's due to lack of planning. So if you plan your week well, you plan your diet well, you plan your daily well, you tend to see that even yourself, you don't feel like it's a burden to be cooking. It's a burden to be preparing meals because you've planned it. On Monday, we are going to eat this. On Tuesday, we're going to eat that. On Friday, we are going to eat this, or we are even going to eat out. Right? Treat yourself with eating out. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so plan the daily meals, plan the weekly shopping, as well as plan the monthly shopping. Right? What am I saying? Planning the shopping is when you look at things which are bulky buy, rice, pasta, potatoes. You can buy a 10 kg, 20 kg of that one. It's cheaper than to buy the small packets. So that one, you know that if you buy rice in this week, in this month, you are not going to buy it for the next 2 months. So what you tend to do is you tend to say the money that you have budgeted over the month to say this is for food. When you are doing bulk buying, you have got a little bit more. When you have got no bulk buying, you have got a little bit less. And when you do that, you tend to see that you save a lot of money. All right, you try it. Just do it by using a kiddie bank. Right, money for food is this amount, and I'm going to put it in this piggy bank. Right, I'm just going to take it out as I use it. You tend to see that if you do the approach of bulk buying for things which are not perishable and do weekly buying for things which are perishable, you will not throw anything away, number one. And also, you save money because bigger packs are cheaper than smaller packs. All right. So look at it and say, what do I need to buy? And when you are cooking, you also look at it and say, what did I buy first? And then you do what is first in, first out. All right. And then by doing that, you do not end up with products that are actually going off on the shelf and at the end throwing them in the bin. So you need to really be in a position to plan. All right. Know your sources of proteins that the family requires or they prefers. Do they like chicken? Do they like beef? Or do they like tinned beans? Or do they? Or if they do not mind, then you are actually in a better position because you can actually say Monday beef, Tuesday lentils, Wednesday chicken, Thursday dairy, and you can actually alternate the protein sources. And you tend to see that the only beef that you require probably only need to require 10 buy one packet of beef in that particular week because you are alternating the sources of protein that you are having. Now if you do that, you tend to see it's easier to easily save money because if you are looking at tinned products as compared to the fresh ones, the tinned ones are much cheaper, and hence that saves you money in terms of. But does it deprive you of nutrients? No, they don't deprive you of nutrients. The tinned beans, the fresh meat, it's preference that is actually there. But in terms of proteins, they all have got proteins. So plan even your eating out to say your eating out is going to follow a day where you've actually eaten leftovers from the previous day. Therefore, there is nothing that is going to be in the fridge that needs to be eaten when you are actually going out. So all this is planning when to eat and when to shop. And then you also need to budget out how much you spend for the fresh produce, how much you spend for the bulk produce, and if possible, put the money in different accounts, right? To say this is for food and we are putting it in this account. And then even if you are on weekly wages, you still plan the same. Even if you are someone who does hustling, right? You actually look at it and say, how much do I usually get per day? And how much do I usually get per week? And from the money that I get per day and from the money that I get per week, how much can I put towards food and how much can I put towards other things? So this is not like you are budgeting because you have got a monthly salary. You're budgeting because you've got something that comes into the house and you're looking at it and say, how do I distribute the money that I get so that I can actually eat healthy? So, regardless of your source of money, if you follow these tips of budgeting and buying your food ingredients, you will see that you save a lot of money. And then where also know where invest in time and know where you get your products. All right? Which shop do you shop for meat? Which shop do you shop for the general products? Which shop do you shop for the bulk buying? Right? And that helps you to go for the bargains, right? You can actually see that in one shop, the 10 kg rice might be 11 pounds. In another shop, the same 10 kg rice might be actually be 9 pounds, right? You've saved 2 pounds already from there. So it's investing time in shopping and knowing where you're buying your products. But also, I would want to kind of like say some of the shops you can even go online and check which one is selling which size of rice at what price. But the other thing that I want you to know is at times some of the prices online they're a bit more expensive than prices that are in shops. So be aware that if you are doing your shopping online and all the stuff, you can also look at it and say, yes, the fresh produce that I probably need once a week, I can buy online, but the bulky buying and all the stuff, let me go into shop because you save money by going into the shop. Yeah. So know even where you get the fresh produce. There even at times open markets that sell the fresh produce. You need to look at it and say, if I buy produce from open markets, what is the shelf life? Right? I'll tell you a story at one point that I went to Sweden. We used to go into to the market on a Saturday, buy the fresh produce. And then by Wednesday, the fresh produce is gone. I'm like, what has happened here? And then they said, oh, yeah. That's what happens with these ones here. They are made specifically for people who are doing catering and all the stuff and everything that they are used, they use them within 2 to 3 days. So if you keep them longer than that, they will be gone, right? But I just had to learn it the hard way that not all fresh produce have got the same shelf life. So it's things like that that you need to learn to say, where should I buy my produce and which ones has got a longer shelf life when I buy them, as compared to just saying, I have got carrots, let me just buy them, right? Also, there is a lot of innovation that is happening around, okay, which helps you to reduce losses in terms of food ingredients, as well as eating healthy, right? Use the technology that is around, right? There are apps that can tell you if I want to buy a juice in the shop, it can actually tell me that this juice is high in sugar. That juice, the alternative is that one, and the alternative is that one. So I can actually look at those different juices and pick the one that is the best in terms of nutrient profile. So use those apps. A lot of them are free. You don't have to pay for them, but invest in going onto your phone, whether it's Android or it's iPhone. Just go onto your phone, look through your apps, and look at it and say, well, do I which what do I want to do here? There are even apps that tells you how to recycle your foods and calculate the shelf life at times the food you have cooked the food you want to store them into the fridge. You can use this app to calculate the shelf life of the cooked rice and the chicken that you've put in the fridge. And by knowing that, you put the dates on your products and you eat them within the days that you've been. So you can even put your own best before date within your own household, because this apps helps you to know that once you've cooked the meat, how much shelf life does it have if you are storing it frozen and if you are storing it refrigerated. And then you use these apps, and then they can help you to reduce food losses in the house. And then you can even also need to understand your refrigerator, right? I know that at times people just think, oh, you just go into the shop, buy whatever you buy, you go into the refrigerator, you just put things because there's space, right? Understand where you're putting what, because some, especially the fresh produce, can affect the shelf life of the other. So if you are keeping putting a fresh produce in there, look at it and say, how does it help? Especially those fresh produce that produces ethylene. They tend to affect the other fresh produce that are around. So you do not want to pack them side by side. So understand how you're packing your fridge, understand how you're packing your foods in there, and then also look at it and say, how best can I make sure that these fresh produce that I'm putting in there are not going to be affected by the other fresh produce because of or different ripening stages. So understand your fridge. Where do you put your fresh meat? Where do you put your dairy? And where do you put your even your leftovers? They are not on being put anywhere anyhow in the fridge. They have gone. And then if you look at some of the smart fridges that tell you that vegetables here, fruits here, and cooked foods and dairy and fresh meat, they tend to kind of like label that. Make use of that information to make sure that when you are storing your food, you are storing them at an appropriate temperature, number one, and also the storage is not going to affect the freshness of other foods. And then you need to also know your family food preferences, right? If he doesn't like Brussels sprouts, we are going to force them to eat Brussels sprouts until they like it. But a lot of times you actually see that those Brussels sprouts, if you are not watching, they are left in the plate, right? So know what your family preferences are. And then if there is anything that you want to make sure that these family members grow to eat some of these, do it gradually until they accept it. And then you might even want to try different recipes for cooking the fruits and vegetables so that they can actually eat the food. So if you see that boiling Brussels sprouts, people will not like it, try frying it and putting some spices and all the stuff in it and see if that helps. But know your family's food preferences and also know their sensitivities. Are they sensitive to gluten? Are they milk intolerant? All that. Know those sensitivities so that when you are planning the meal, you might want to do the things that everybody else can eat and cater for those ones that for those in sensitivities. And then if you have got family members who take medication, there are some long-term medication that affect their taste, it affects their mood. They can end up being depressed, anxious. Look at all those things and see how you can even plan meals that can enhance their mood, right? For example, a lot of times people actually say if you do a roast beef with fresh salad, it's a meal that is a lot of time associated with going out, right? And also associated with the street food. So it tends to increase the mood of the person. So look at those things and actually say, how do you prepare the meals so that if they have got loss of appetite, they've got something that can trigger them to love food or deal with some of the depression and anxiety that they might have when they are on those medication. So if you do not do that, we are going to prepare a meal. 90% of the time, that meal is going to be pushed sideways. It's not going to be eaten. And you are going to be thinking, oh, yeah, I'm wasting this. Oh, yeah, I'm wasting that. But it comes to preparing and understanding how um, this person who is on this medication, what is it that even the food that they are supposed to avoid when they're taking that medication is also very important to make sure that everybody is catered for. So you also need to know your products, right? I've got my list. On a Saturday, I want to go and buy eggplant. I want this. I want that. I want that. Oh, I go into the shop. I can't find the eggplant. right? What is it that I can put in replace of the eggplant? What is that I can put in replace of that, right? So know the food groups and know the foods that are there, so that you are not only restricted to one type of selection of food, but you have got a wider selection of food. And by doing that, you can actually have a variety of it. You do not go into the shop and come back without the shopping because you do not because you do not have the food that you want to eat. So look at it and say, know your foods, know your products. And I know that for people who have come from another country to another country, there is always a difference in terms of different types of foods that are found in there. Get to know the foods that are around, and get to know what is it that you grew up eating, and what is it can it be replaced with. Because at times you can actually say, I grew up eating this, so if I can't eat this, that is. And then the meals become monotonous, and people, when they are eating the same meal over and over again, they can end up thinking we're put off from eating, and hence that food is lost. They have not gotten the nutrients that they need. You have lost the money through food wastage, and no one is gained in the process of that activity. So make sure that you look for alternatives. You also avoid brands that has got short shelf life, and you also um, know what you can grow seasonally in your own garden or in your balcony. Some people are growing plants and all the stuff in pots and all the stuff. What is it that you can grow in your balcony, and what is that you can go and pick in the shops? And which season can you grow what? And all this, know your food products, so that you you harvest the other one, you go into the other season. So throughout the 4 seasons of the year, there is something that you are picking from your garden, right? Or from your pots that you have. So know your food products, and also know when they they grow in terms of the season. And then if I can look at this one here, I can have something like some take home tips, right? These take home tips, it's more of like highlighting what I've been talking from the beginning, to say know the food preference of your family. That is very, very important. Number one, they know that they are being catered for, and they look forward to the meals, right? And if they do not want the food, they know that they are not forced to eat it, but there's an alternative that is actually there. And if you buy a lot of tinned foods and frozen vegetables and all the stuff, those ones, they tend to be a backup when you have prepared something that probably a family member does not want it, but you've got something that they can easily pick with from the cupboards, and they can eat. And doing that, you tend to see that a lot of times there is no food that is left over, right? I used to have a bin that I had, which I used to put the food in there. And I said, I want to know how much I am actually throwing away in terms of food waste. Okay. And I had a chart to tally, to say, what is it that I am throwing away? And why am I actually throwing away that type of food? Right? I will start with look at pasta, look at proteins, look at fruits and vegetable. And this bin is like a 5 kg bucket, right? So when I used to, before I even started to kind of like look into it, I used to throw away about 2 to 3 buckets of that food waste. When I actually started to look at it and say, why am I throwing away this amount of food? Right? It came from 3 to 1, and now it is a quarter of the of the bucket, because I actually looked into it and say, why am I throwing away this? And what is that I can actually do differently too. So I realized that each time I cook things like pasta, right, there is portions for pasta that I put in the plate. But it looks like a lot of the people, it's not like they don't like the pasta, they like it, but they tend to eat half the portion of the pastas that I was putting in. So hence the other half was being, so I reduced the amount of pasta that I was preparing. Even if it was like for lunches and all the stuff and things like that, I still reduced it because there was just so much that was left in access. So I reduced that. So I realized that pasta is not a big portions. Rice, the scoops that I put for the rice, everybody finishes that. I never used to have so much rice that was going into that bin. And I also looked at the fruits and vegetables, and that's when I realized, oh, if I actually have got these peels and all the stuff and everything, and I put all this in the blender, right? Let me do it. I do it, and then everyone was like, "Oh, smoothie! Thank you so much for this." Everybody was enjoying it on the table, all right? So I was like, okay. So it's things that are small and doable, and do not take too much of your time, because what you're doing is, as you are having these trimmings and all this stuff, you're just taking them and dumping them into the blender, all right? And then you put a little bit of water, and then you blend. Here is the smoothie that the people can drink. So it's looking at those things and actually say, how do I save money and how do I save food loss? And by doing that, I've saved a lot, right? I could say I've now I'm actually saying this from my own personal experience. I've saved a lot in monitoring my food waste and putting all these tips in practice. And I tend to go and buy bulky products, and the fresh produce. I buy them on. And for my bulk products, I go for 3 months without even going to the shop to buy. And then the other one, the 40th month, that's when I actually go and buy. So some of these things that I'm sharing from my own personal experience, right? So it's not like things which are abstract that I'm like, oh yeah, you go and do this. Oh yeah, you go and try that. It's things that some of them I've tried and I've seen how it works, and I've seen even the fruits of it. Okay, and it's it's um it's good to know that there is so many ways of saving money and still eating healthy. And the most important thing is eating healthy when these financial constraints with us. There was a hike in energy, there was a hike in mortgages for those who pay mortgages, and then even there's a hike in water bills, there's a hike in council bills. You see that things are actually going up everywhere. And then there's even a hike in the prices of the food themselves, right? So you cannot actually say by each time there's a hike, you actually go to your employer to say, oh yeah, can you increase my salary? That is not possible, right? But these small tips are tips that has worked for me, has helped me to save, and I think they're also things that very helpful for you to be implementing them, and also doing your best to save money. And then, like what I'm saying, planning weekly, planning portion sizes as well, right? Know who actually eats which types of portion sizes, and then physical activity. Encourage each other within the family to do physical activity, and physical activity increases your metabolic rates. So it's something that is very important for you to um to encourage each other on physical activity. And if you think that your BMI is not changing, your BMI is either underweight or overweight, you need to seek a professional help. And if you go on to the AFN, there is a list of nutritionists that are within your area. If you just type on AFN, your postcode, they'll tend to give you nutritionists who are practicing within your area. And that those people are very good in terms of helping you out, in terms of making sure that you are eating healthy. And then share the food information with your family, right? And even with friends, so that even when you come to the house and you feel like, oh no, I'm not eating that one because this, that, they understand where you're coming from, right? and then also medical information. You share only what they require to know for the purposes of planning the meals and also living with everybody else in the house. You don't have to share the details, but it's just that side of the food intake. If there's anything that you are avoiding, share that I'm avoiding this. All right. So these are some of the things that I'm actually saying you can implement to make sure that you have got a healthy diet, and you can a healthy you can have a healthy diet in your house, and also most importantly you can also save money, right? So if there's anything that you want to ask, any questions and all the stuff, please leave them in the comment section, and we can go back and see if there's anything that we can follow up on, and let you know. And this live stream will be there on my YouTube channel for you to listen at any time. For those ones who have not managed to attend, you can listen to it at any time and put in some comments. I'll always be checking to see if there's anyone who has some questions on the YouTube channel. Like what I was saying, that this series are going to be kind of like a fortnightly, and please look forward to the next one. Me and Claire will be looking at, today I was looking at the general public. How do you eat healthy? The next one, me and Claire are going to look at, as a practicing nutritionist, how do you make sure that your clients eat healthy within a tight budget? Right? So we are also going to look at the nutritionist side and professionals side, and give some advice in terms of how do you help your clients to eat healthy. All right. So please subscribe to my channel, and also like and share the video if you want, if you think there are some people who will benefit from this, and also get in touch if you've got anything. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much. Bye bye.